this eventful Sunday. I'm Lindsay Davis reporting from Washington, D.C. on Inauguration Eve. Donald Trump, the 45th president, is just hours away from becoming the 47th president. But we do begin tonight with extraordinary events in the Middle East. 3 hostages emerged today as part of that ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. This is the moment when Hamas handed over the women in a crush of soldiers. The Red Cross returned the women to Israeli forces after 15 months in captivity. The heartfelt embraces and emotion as these families have the reunions they have demanded and hoped for more than a year. Thousands gathered in Tel Aviv Square, cheering and clapping as the women reclaimed their freedom. And since that ceasefire started earlier today, more than 550 humanitarian aid trucks have entered Gaza. The ceasefire was delayed for 3 hours, and during that period, an additional 13 Palestinians were killed. The second round of the hostage release is now slated for Saturday. We have team coverage tonight. ABC's Ian Pannell leads us off from Tel Aviv.
It's been a day of high emotion, of hugs, tears and relief. The first 3 hostages released from Gaza as part of that fragile ceasefire. And after 15 months of hell, the guns finally falling silent. 470 days after the attack on Israel on October the 7th. This is how the day unfolded. 3 young women, Romy Gonen, Emily Damari and Doron Steinbrecher, brought from captivity by the very same group that massacred so many and took them captive. Incredibly, it's gunmen back on the streets once again, controlling the crowd. The women were handed over to a Red Cross convoy before heading back into Israel.
Incredible scenes here after 15 months of heartbreak, of dashed hopes, of disappointment. Finally, the first glimpse of one of the hostages in Gaza on her way home.
3 daughters on their way out and 3 mothers anxiously watching it unfold. And when news came through that they were on the way home, an emotional dam burst wide open. Romy Gonen's dad unable to keep his feet on the ground any longer. With the sun beginning to set, Emily, Doron and Romy exiting the Red Cross cars. Their faces say it all. Now inside IDF vehicles, the former hostages back on Israeli soil. And within hours, finally reunited with their families. In one of his final acts as president, Joe Biden announcing a deal he's worked on tirelessly.
The deal that I first put forward last May for the Middle East has finally come to fruition.
And here in Tel Aviv, jubilant Israelis watching the transfer live as the former hostages changed hands, laughing, cheering and crying. Celebrations today for Israelis and for Palestinians too. For Gazans, this was the first time it was safe to be out on the streets in 15 months. Almost 2,000 Palestinians held in Israeli jails also expect to head home again. And those desperately needed trucks carrying food and medical supplies for Palestinians finally crossing. But just look at what's left of their homes, their communities, their lives. A city, a land largely reduced to dust. For some, relief to see their homes spared. So many have lost everything. Despite the pain of a war that's cost more than 46,000 Palestinian and more than 1,800 Israeli lives, the ceasefire is a seed of hope planted amid the ruins.
Lindsay, this ceasefire is extremely fragile, and the incoming Trump administration is really going to have its work cut out to try and make sure that this deal does not break down. Lindsay?
Certainly a lot at stake, Ian. Thank you. Crowds are also gathering the West Bank tonight. They are awaiting the release of dozens of Palestinian prisoners as part of that exchange with Israel. ABC's Tom Sufi-Burridge is there for us. Tom, give us a sense of what's happening there now.
Yeah, Lindsay, we have just received word that the buses carrying those 90 or so Palestinian prisoners, mainly women and young men, have left an Israeli prison down the road. You can see the crowd here that are gathered. It's a pretty chaotic scene. And effectively, they're going to be bussed up here to this main square in West Bank. We expect celebrations here. We've seen the Israeli authorities clearing the road up here. Remember, hundreds more Palestinian prisoners will be released in the coming weeks. This is a phased exchange, hostages for Palestinian prisoners throughout the 6 weeks. But it's a chaotic picture here in the West Bank tonight, and we've just had word that those Palestinian prisoners finally have been released. Lindsay?
The energy there, palpable. Tom, thank you. Next tonight, a reversal of fortune for TikTok. The popular social media platform is welcoming users back after abruptly shutting down before the start of a ban in the U.S. This comes after President-elect Trump vowed to delay the ban. Here's NBC's Elizabeth Schulze with the new details coming in tonight.
Just hours after TikTok shut down the app for its 170 million users as a nationwide ban took effect, tonight it's back up and running. We're back. TikTok restoring service shortly after President-elect Trump stepped in this morning, promising to delay enforcement of the ban by signing an executive order when he takes office.
And as of today, TikTok is back.
Trump saying his administration won't enforce hefty fines against tech companies like Apple, Google, and Oracle that keep TikTok working. Attending his rally tonight, TikTok CEO, who will have a seat at tomorrow's inauguration alongside other big tech executives.
I want to thank President Trump for his commitment to work with us.
Trump's options to save TikTok are limited. The law that was passed by Congress with broad bipartisan support and upheld by the Supreme Court requires that TikTok protect national security by cutting ties with its Chinese owner ByteDance. Trump now suggesting a partnership.
But let the United States of America own 50% of TikTok. I'm approving on behalf of the United States. So they'll have a partner in the United States, or they'll have a lot of bidders.
The app's 14-hour shutdown overnight left users reeling.
And with that, the TikTok era comes to an end.
Anase Ijawuri left her job as an ER nurse 2 years ago to become a full-time content creator.
I feel like sometimes people forget that there are people on the app that are using this as their income, and so you're kind of in the middle, and it feels like they don't really care.
She worries other apps owned by ByteDance, like the popular video editing app CapCut that's still offline, may not return.
For so many, this is more than just a pastime. Elizabeth joins us now. Elizabeth, we know that ban was passed with bipartisan support and then upheld by the Supreme Court. Can an executive order from Trump reverse that?
Lindsay, a president cannot undo or change a law. He does have enforcement discretion, but tonight Republican Senator Tom Cotton is warning that tech companies could still face billions of dollars in fines under this law in the future. Apple and Google are still not allowing new downloads or software updates of TikTok on their app stores. Lindsay?
Its fate still quite uncertain. Elizabeth, thank you. President-elect Trump is back in the nation's capital for this, the eve of his second inauguration. He's holding a final victory rally inside the Capital One Arena. His supporters lining up for blocks. Here's ABC senior White House correspondent Selena Wang.
Tonight, President-elect Donald Trump taking a victory lap on the eve of his inauguration.
We won! We won! Take back our country. Tomorrow at noon, the curtain closes on 4 long years of American decline, and we begin a brand new day of American strength and prosperity, dignity and pride.
Trump supporters traveling from across the country to celebrate in the nation's capital.
Greatest American comeback in American history.
What is the number one thing that you want Trump to do?
End the war in Ukraine.
It's been a long 4 years, and I'm ready.
First Lady Melania Trump and the president-elect arriving from West Palm Beach overnight for the festivities, taking in fireworks from Trump's National Golf Club in Virginia. Tonight, the nation's capital on high alert with 25,000 security personnel and 30 miles of barricades. Nearly 8,000 National Guard troops from 40 states also supporting local police. The United States Secret Service saying today that while the country remains in a heightened threat environment, there is no active direct threat to the inauguration.
Lindsay, the intensely cold weather here tomorrow has upended Donald Trump's inauguration plans. Instead of holding an outdoor rally, Donald Trump tomorrow will come back here to this very same arena for a celebration event. Lindsay?
The city is certainly packed with supporters. Selena, thank you. And stay with ABC News tomorrow morning. I'll be joining David Muir in Washington for the second inauguration of Donald J. Trump. Continuous coverage begins tomorrow on Good Morning America. Next tonight, Trump's team is now reviewing plans to launch large-scale immigration crackdowns. Sources have told ABC News the raids would likely begin after the inauguration, likely in Chicago and then other big cities. Here's ABC's Maria Villarreal.
With cities across the U.S. bracing for sweeping deportation raids, as promised by President-elect Trump during his campaign, tonight his administration says it's rethinking where to launch the large-scale crackdowns. Sources initially telling ABC News the raids would begin right after the inauguration, likely in Chicago and then other big sanctuary cities. The operations involving high-priority criminal targets that DHS teams have been investigating for months, migrant targets that pose a danger to our communities. The plans first reported by the New York Times and Wall Street Journal, with Trump's border czar addressing the raids on Fox News.
It will be targeted enforcement operations, so if ICE goes out, they're going to know exactly who they're looking for, pretty much where they'll find them. Others are the United States origin. They may not be a criminal priority, but we're not walking away from them.
In a phone interview on Saturday with our Rachel Scott, Trump calling the raids a big priority.
We will stop illegal immigration once and for all. We will not be invaded. We will not be occupied. We will not be overrun. We will not be conquered. We will be a free and proud nation once again, and that will take place tomorrow at 12 o'clock.
We know Homeland Security agents will be sent here to strike fear in the hearts of our students and their families, and we are not standing for it.
Tonight, the news stoking deportation fears. Lines wrapping around a federal immigration building in Charlotte as people try to get their cases heard. And in Chicago, nonprofit groups say people are terrified to leave their homes.
With all the rhetoric that's coming out, and I feel the anxiety is more the fear of the unknown.
Well, Lindsay, border communities are preparing for what might happen, but so far no word yet on any raids here. That said, cities like El Paso, they've been through things like this before. So whether it's an influx of migrants or whether it's raids locally, they tell me they have a plan ready to go.
News as we come on the air from Washington, D.C. President Donald Trump returns to the White House, promising a golden age of America. The president immediately launching his agenda, vowing sweeping changes on immigration and the border, and promising action regarding hundreds of January 6th defendants. Tonight, the inauguration of President Donald Trump. America and the world witnessing President Trump taking the oath of office for a second time. The cornerstone of democracy today, a peaceful transfer of power. Dangerously cold weather moving the inauguration indoors for the first time since Ronald Reagan in 1985. Extraordinary images unfolding throughout the day here. And then the welcome at the White House. The Biden reaching out to the Trumps. Biden telling Trump, welcome home. President Trump delivering his inaugural address to the nation, saying he wants to be a peacemaker and unifier, and promising to completely and totally reverse the work of the Biden administration. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris sitting right next to him. And after 5 decades in politics, President Biden tonight leaving Washington for the last time. The moving moment flying over Washington, the Capitol, and the White House one final time. President Trump wasting no time setting the tone for his next 4 years in office. His plans to sign at least 100 executive actions, declaring a national emergency at the southern border tonight. ABC News has learned he plans to issue sweeping pardons for prisoners convicted in the January 6th attack on the Capitol. What we've learned tonight. Meantime, in his final hours in office today, President Biden issuing last-minute pardons to Dr. Anthony Fauci, retired General Mark Miller, former Congresswoman Liz Cheney, and members of the House committee who investigated January 6th. President Biden saying they did nothing wrong, but he still wanted to protect them. Our team spread out tonight across the country for this historic night.
From ABC News, this is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir. Reporting tonight from Washington.
And good evening tonight from Washington. We're glad you're with us here on an historic day in America. The inauguration of Donald Trump as the nation's 47th president. The peaceful transfer of power. We brought it to you live all day long. This day, not like anything we've seen before. Trump, the 45th president, returning as the 47th president. We haven't seen this as a country since Grover Cleveland, in fact. A ceremony indoors because of the cold. The new president on track to take a record number of executive actions on day one. And in the final hours of his administration, but now former President Biden also issuing last-minute pardons. We have it all covered tonight. President Trump taking the oath of office for the second time in the Capitol Rotunda, the first time inside since Ronald Reagan's second term back in 1985. But it began with this moment right here, Donald and Melania Trump arriving at the White House, greeted by the Bidens, President Biden saying, "Welcome home, Donald Trump." A tradition for decades, but one that Trump did not honor 4 years ago for the Bidens when Joe Biden won. After having the tea inside, though Donald Trump doesn't drink tea, they did meet for the White House tea that is part of inaugural tradition. The two presidents leaving together, they shared a ride together to the Capitol. In Trump's inaugural address, President Trump promising a new golden age of America, promising to be a peacemaker and a unifier, but also harshly critical of the Biden administration, with Biden and Vice President Harris sitting just behind him. That final moment of the transfer of power, the new president escorting former President Biden and the former First Lady Jill Biden to a waiting helicopter, flying over the Capitol for the last time, ending a decades-long political career. And instead of the traditional parade through the streets of Washington, a rally just moments ago at the Capital One Arena. The night is young. President Trump and the First Lady will attend 3 inaugural balls tonight. We will be here for it all. A primetime special, 10 p.m. Eastern tonight. But we begin here with our chief White House correspondent, Mary Brewster.
Tonight, America's historic and peaceful transfer of power on full display. Joe Biden greeting Donald Trump at the White House with 2 words, "Welcome home." Polite handshakes between the Bidens and the Trumps, and then the 4 entering for the traditional pre-inauguration tea. Over at the Capitol, the audience assembling, and in prime seats among the incoming cabinet secretaries, some of the nation's top tech CEOs. Amazon's Jeff Bezos, Meta's Mark Zuckerberg, Apple's Tim Cook, and of course Trump's close advisor, Elon Musk. Back at the White House, the Trumps and Bidens visiting for about 45 minutes before emerging for that ride to the Capitol. The First Ladies walking to their car. And then the presidents. Presidents filing into the rotunda, the Clintons, the Bushes, and Barack Obama walking alone, former First Lady Michelle Obama not attending. The rotunda packed as Trump made his entrance.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President-elect of the United States, the Honorable Donald John Trump.
Raise your right hand.
Vice President Vance sworn in, his wife Usha holding their young daughter.
Congratulations, Mr. Vice President.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me.
And then it was Trump's turn, taking the oath for the second time.
That I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. So help me God. Congratulations.
A handshake with former President Biden. President Trump launching into his inaugural address.
President Vance, Speaker Johnson, Senator Thune, Chief Justice Roberts, Justices of the United States Supreme Court, President Clinton, President Bush, President Obama, President Biden, Vice President Harris, and my fellow citizens. The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish and be respected again all over the world. We will be the envy of every nation, and we will not allow ourselves to be taken advantage of any longer. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first. Our sovereignty will be reclaimed. Our safety will be restored. The scales of justice will be rebalanced. The vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization of the Justice Department and our government will end. And our top priority will be to create a nation that is proud, prosperous, and free. America will soon be greater, stronger, and far more exceptional than ever before. I return to the presidency confident and optimistic that we are at the start of a thrilling new era of national success. The tide of change is sweeping the country. Sunlight is pouring over the entire world, and America has the chance to seize this opportunity like never before. But first, we must be honest about the challenges we face. While they are plentiful, they will be annihilated by this great momentum that the world is now witnessing in the United States of America. As we gather today, our government confronts a crisis of trust. For many years, a radical and corrupt establishment has extracted power and wealth from our citizens while the pillars of our society lay broken and seemingly incomplete disrepair. We now have a government that cannot manage even a simple crisis at home, while at the same time stumbling into a continuing catalog of catastrophic events abroad. It fails to protect our magnificent, law-abiding American citizens, but provides sanctuary and protection for dangerous criminals, many from prisons and mental institutions that have illegally entered our country from all over the world. We have a government that has given unlimited funding to the defense of foreign borders, but refuses to defend American borders or, more importantly, its own people. Our country can no longer deliver basic services in times of emergency as recently shown by the wonderful people of North Carolina who treated so badly. And other states who are still suffering from a hurricane that took place many months ago. Or more recently, Los Angeles, where we are watching fires still tragically burn. But weeks ago, without even a token of defense, they're raging through the houses and communities, even affecting some of the wealthiest and most powerful individuals in our country. Some of them are sitting here right now. They don't have a home any longer. That's interesting. We can't let this happen. Everyone is unable to do anything about it, but that's going to change. We have a public health system that does not deliver in times of disaster, yet more money is spent on it than any country anywhere in the world. And we have an education system that teaches our children to be ashamed of themselves in many cases, to hate our country despite the love that we try so desperately to provide to them. All of this will change starting today, and will change very quickly. decline is over. Our liberties and our nation's glorious destiny will no longer be denied, and we will immediately restore the integrity, competency, and loyalty of America's government. Over the past 8 years, I have been tested and challenged more than any president in our 250-year history, and I've learned a lot along the way. The journey to reclaim our republic has not been an easy one, that I can tell you. Those who wish to stop our cause have tried to take my freedom and indeed to take my life. Just a few months ago in a beautiful Pennsylvania field, an assassin's bullet ripped through my ear. But I felt then, and believe even more so now, that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. Under our administration of American patriots, we will be working to meet every crisis with dignity and power and strength. We will move with purpose and speed to bring back hope, prosperity, safety, and peace for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed. For American citizens, January 20th, 2025 is Liberation Day. Presidential election will be remembered as the greatest and most consequential election in the history of our country. As our victory showed, the entire nation is rapidly unifying behind our agenda with dramatic increases in support from virtually every element of our society, young and old, men and women, African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, urban, suburban, rural. And very importantly, we had a powerful win in all 7 swing states, and the popular vote we won by millions of people. To the Black and Hispanic communities, I want to thank you for the tremendous outpouring of love and trust that you have shown me with your vote. We set records, and I will not forget it. I've heard your voices in the campaign, and I look forward to working with you in the years to come. Today is Martin Luther King Day, and his honor, this will be a great honor, but in his honor we will strive together to make his dream a reality. We will make his dream come true. National unity is now returning to America, and confidence and pride soaring like never before. In everything we do, my administration will be inspired by a strong pursuit of excellence and unrelenting success. We will not forget our country, we will not forget our Constitution, and we will not forget our God. Don't do that. Today I will sign a series of historic executive orders. With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. It's all about common sense. First, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border. Illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came. We will reinstate my Remain in Mexico policy. I will end the practice of catch and release. And I will send troops to the southern border to repel the disastrous invasion of our country. Under the orders I signed today, we will also be designating the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. Invoking the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, I will direct our government to use the full and immense power of federal and state law enforcement to eliminate the presence of all foreign gangs and criminal networks bringing devastating crime to U.S. soil, including our cities and inner cities. As Commander-in-Chief, I have no higher responsibility than to defend our country from threats and invasions, and that is exactly what I am going to do. We will do it at a level that nobody's ever seen before. Next, I will direct all members of my cabinet to marshal the vast powers at their disposal to defeat what was record inflation and rapidly bring down costs and prices. The inflation crisis was caused by massive overspending and escalating energy prices. That is why today I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill. Will be a manufacturing nation once again, and we have something that no other manufacturing nation will ever have, the largest amount of oil and gas of any country on earth, and we are going to use it. We will bring prices down, fill our strategic reserves up again right to the top, and export American energy all over the world. We will be a rich nation again, and it is that liquid gold under our feet that will help to do it. In my actions today, we will end the Green New Deal, and we will revoke the electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto industry and keeping my sacred pledge to our great American auto workers. In other words, you'll be able to buy the car of your choice. We will build automobiles in America again at a rate that nobody could have dreamt possible just a few years ago. And thank you to the auto workers of our nation for your inspiring vote of confidence. We did tremendously with their vote. I will immediately begin the overhaul of our trade system to protect American workers and families. Instead of taxing our citizens to enrich other countries, we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens. For this purpose, we are establishing the External Revenue Service to collect all tariffs, duties, and revenues. It will be massive amounts of money pouring into our treasury, coming from foreign sources. The American dream will soon be back and thriving like never before to restore confidence and effectiveness to our federal government. My administration will establish the brand new Department of Government Efficiency. After years and years of illegal and unconstitutional federal efforts to restrict free expression, I will also sign an executive order to immediately stop all government censorship and bring back free speech to America. Never again will the immense power of the state be weaponized to persecute political opponents, something I know something about. We will not allow that to happen. It will not happen again. Under my leadership, we will restore fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law. And we are going to bring law and order back to our cities. This week, I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life. We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based. As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. This week, I will reinstate any service members who were unjustly expelled from our military for objecting to the COVID vaccine mandate with full back pay. And I will sign an order to stop our warriors from being subjected to radical political theories and social experiments while on duty. It's going to end immediately. Our armed forces will be free to focus on their sole mission, defeating America's enemies. Like in 2017, we will again build the strongest military the world has ever seen. We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars that we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into. My proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker and unifier. That's what I want to be, a peacemaker and a unifier. I'm pleased to say that as of yesterday, one day before I assumed office, the hostages in the Middle East are coming back home to their families. America will reclaim its rightful place as the greatest, most powerful, most respected nation on earth, inspiring the awe and admiration of the entire world. A short time from now, we are going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, and we will restore the name of a great president, William McKinley, to Mount McKinley, where it should be and where it belongs. President McKinley made our country very rich through tariffs and through talent. He was a natural businessman and gave Teddy Roosevelt the money for many of the great things he did, including the Panama Canal, which has foolishly been given to the country of Panama after the United States. The United States, I mean, think of this, spent more money than ever spent on a project before and lost 38,000 lives in the building of the Panama Canal. We have been treated very badly from this foolish gift that should have never been made. And Panama's promise to us has been broken. The purpose of our deal and the spirit of our treaty has been totally violated. American ships are being severely overcharged and not treated fairly in any way, shape, or form, and that includes the United States Navy. And above all, China is operating the Panama Canal, and we didn't give it to China, we gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back. Above all, my message to Americans today is that it is time for us to once again act with courage, vigor, and the vitality of history's greatest civilization. So as we liberate our nation, we will lead it to new heights of victory and success. We will not be deterred. Together we will end the chronic disease epidemic and keep our children safe, healthy, and disease-free. The United States will once again consider itself a growing nation, one that increases our wealth, expands our territory, builds our cities, raises our expectations, and carries our flag into new and beautiful horizons. And we will pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, launching American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the planet Mars. Is the lifeblood of a great nation, and right now our nation is more ambitious than any other. There's no nation like our nation. Americans are explorers, builders, innovators, entrepreneurs, and pioneers. The spirit of the frontier is written into our hearts. The call of the next great adventure resounds from within our souls. Our American ancestors turned a small group of colonies on the edge of a vast continent into a mighty republic of the most extraordinary citizens on earth. No one comes close. Americans push thousands of miles through a rugged land of untamed wilderness. They crossed deserts, scaled mountains, braved untold dangers, won the Wild West, ended slavery, rescued millions from tyranny, lifted billions from poverty, harnessed electricity, split the atom, launched mankind into the heavens, and put the universe of human knowledge into the palm of the human hand. If we work together, there is nothing we cannot do, and no dream we cannot achieve. Many people thought it was impossible for me to stage such a historic political comeback. But as you see today, here I am. The American people have spoken. I stand before you now as proof that you should never believe that something is impossible to do. In America, the impossible is what we do best. From New York to Los Angeles, from Philadelphia to Phoenix, from Chicago to Miami, from Houston to right here in Washington, D.C., our country was forged and built by the generations of patriots who gave everything they had for our rights and for our freedom. They were farmers and soldiers, cowboys and factory workers, steel workers and coal miners, police officers and pioneers who pushed onward, marched forward, and let no obstacle defeat their spirit or their pride. Together they laid down the railroads, raised up the skyscrapers, built great highways, won 2 world wars, defeated fascism and communism, and triumphed over every single challenge that they faced. After all we have been through together, we stand on the verge of the 4 greatest years in American history. With your help, we will restore America's promise, and we will rebuild the nation that we love, and we love it so much. We are one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. So to every parent who dreams for their child, and every child who dreams for their future, I am with you, I will fight for you, and I will win for you. Going to win like never before. In recent years, our nation has suffered greatly, but we are going to bring it back and make it great again, greater than ever before. We will be a nation like no other, full of compassion, courage, and exceptionalism. Our power will stop all wars and bring a new spirit of unity to a world that has been angry, violent, and totally unpredictable. America will be respected again and admired again, including by people of religion, faith, and goodwill. We will be prosperous. We will be proud. We will be strong, and we will win like never before. We will not be conquered. We will not be intimidated. We will not be broken, and we will not fail. From this day on, the United States of America will be a free, sovereign, and independent nation. We will stand bravely. We will live proudly, we will dream boldly, and nothing will stand in our way because we are Americans. The future is ours, and our golden age has just begun. Thank you. God bless America. Thank you all. Thank you.
Trump famously skipped Joe Biden's inauguration, but Biden was determined to stick with tradition. So today, the new president and first lady escorting the Bidens out of the Capitol to the waiting helicopter. Handshakes, the first ladies exchanging hugs, and then the Trumps waving goodbye as the Bidens flew off. But in the 11th hour of his presidency, presidency, Joe Biden with some unfinished business, issuing preemptive pardons for public officials who'd incurred Trump's wrath, including former top health advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Mark Milley, and the members of the January 6th committee, including chairwoman former Representative Liz Cheney. Writing, these public servants have served our nation with honor and distinction and do not deserve to be the targets of unjustified and politically motivated prosecutions. And stressing the pardons should not be mistaken as an acknowledgement that they engaged in any wrongdoing. Biden also issuing preemptive pardons to 5 members of his own family, including his brother and sister, saying, "My family has been subjected to unrelenting attacks and threats, motivated solely by a desire to hurt me. I have no reason to believe these attacks will end." Trump clearly angered by the last-minute pardons.
Why are we helping some of the people?
As Trump spoke a long airing of grievances, Biden was heading for the plane and his farewell.
It's been the honor of my life serving the president.
With Washington in a deep freeze, the traditional parade scrapped, the president heading to a celebration at the Capital One Arena. A jubilant procession of marching bands. As in Washington, a new era begins.
Donald Trump, the 47th president of the United States. Our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce, with us now. We saw Elon Musk at a front row seat in the rotunda today. He spoke to the crowd at the Capital One Arena, actually went there even before President Trump did. And tonight you've learned he's in the West Wing.
David, Elon Musk has already been spotted inside the West Wing tonight. He's been given what's essentially an all-access security pass, and sources tell us he is likely to get an office there in the West Wing as well.
In the West Wing as well. Something to watch here. Mary Bruce leading us off. Mary, thank you. President Trump wasting no time, meanwhile, on track to sign scores of executive actions on this day one of his administration. Among them, declaring a national emergency at the southern border, declaring an energy emergency, and reversing many of former President Biden's initiatives. Our senior political correspondent, Rachel Scott, tonight at the Capital One Arena.
Tonight, just hours after he was sworn in, President Trump getting right down to business, signing a record number of executive orders. At Capital One Arena, in front of a crowd of supporters, Trump putting into motion his day one action.
I'm about to sign some very important executive orders of our new administration.
Signing orders on the economy, gender, and immigration, declaring that national emergency at the southern border, reinstating the Remain in Mexico policy, and designating cartels as foreign terrorist organizations.
As Commander-in-Chief, I have no higher responsibility than to defend our country from threats and invasions, and that is exactly what I am going to do. We will do it at a level that nobody's ever seen before.
The president vowing to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America.
We are going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
Trump also declaring a national emergency on energy.
We will drill, baby, drill. America will be a manufacturing nation once again, and we have something that no other manufacturing nation will ever have, the largest amount of oil and gas of any country on earth, and we are going to use it.
Tonight, in front of thousands of supporters here at the Capital One Arena, President Donald Trump signed several executive actions, including withdrawing from the Paris Climate Accord. The president making clear that many more are on the way, but even his allies on Capitol Hill acknowledge that he will need the help of Congress to get much of his agenda across the finish line.
All right, Rachel Scott live here in Washington as well. Rachel, thank you tonight. What we're now learning at this hour about another of President Trump's expected actions tonight, pardoning or commuting the sentences of hundreds convicted in the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Here's our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas now.
Hundreds of violent offenders went to prison for attacking police on January 6th, using everything from shields to flagpoles, even cattle props. Granting full unconditional pardons for everyone convicted in connection with January 6th.
So this is January 6th, and these are the hostages. Approximately 1,500 for a pardon. Full pardon.
And commuting the sentences of multiple people convicted of seditious conspiracy, including Stuart Rhodes, the founder of the Oath Keepers Militia. And minutes after Trump signed that document, an attorney for Enrique Tarrio former national chairman of the Proud Boys, who was also sentenced to 22 years in prison for seditious conspiracy, telling ABC News he's currently being processed for release. Trump promised multiple times to free the so-called January 6th defendants on the campaign trail, even saluting at a rally while playing a version of the national anthem sung by a choir made of January 6th prisoners. Now it appears he's made good on that promise.
David, the prospect of potential violent defenders walking free and the potential risks to the prosecutors who convicted them and the judges who sentenced them has some current and former DOJ officials alarmed. David?
Pierre Thomas live at the Capitol tonight. Pierre, thanks so much. Let's get back to the team that's been with me all day long here on ABC. Quick lightning round here. Our chief Washington correspondent, Jonathan Karl. What do you think President Trump has to do now in these early days of his administration?
Well, look, he set the bar extremely high. In his speech, he said that the golden age of America starts right now. He made specific promises, like bringing prices down and much beyond that. So now he has to deliver. And David, we saw him do some executive actions. Getting stuff through Congress is going to be much, much more difficult, given the narrow majority. He's got the majority, but it's oh so narrow.
Yeah, you mentioned prices. Executive action on the border will definitely be coming. Bringing prices down might be the bigger challenge as we move ahead. Arthur Reynolds, you took note that the families of the hostages were there in the arena tonight, and many of them in recent days have given Donald Trump credit for getting this ceasefire across the finish line.
Golden age of America begins right now.
With Biden looking on, Trump pledging to bring back what he called a nation in decline.
A recent election was a mandate to completely and totally reverse a horrible betrayal. All of these many betrayals that have taken place, and to give the people back their faith, their wealth, their democracy, and indeed their freedom. From this moment on, America's decline is over.
Vowing to usher in a, quote, revolution of common sense, starting with a sweeping series of executive actions.
I will declare a national emergency at our southern border. All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came.
The president with this promise.
We will measure our success not only by the battles we win, but also by the wars that we end, and perhaps most importantly, the wars we never get into. My proudest legacy will be that of a peacemaker and unifier.
And this vow.
Never again will the immense power of the state be weaponized to persecute political opponents. Something I know something about. We will not allow that to happen. It will not happen again.
His tone defiant.
Many people thought it was impossible for me to stage such a historic political comeback. But as you see today, here I am. The American people have spoken.